What's up, guys? We are starting the sanding on the 67 Vet. Obviously you can see the brown on this door is gone. I got a time lapse of some stuff as I was going through it on this side. While you're watching the time lapse, I want to just kind of go over what this video is about. So I've heard so many things that people have been saying about, you know, fiberglass cars are a completely different thing. They're obviously different, but the whole process is very similar. It's just you have to make sure that you're using the right product for what kind of vehicle you're working on. There's some products that are not compatible with fiberglass. There are some products that are not compatible with bare steel. There are products out there that are compatible with a lot of different things, but that's why it's up to you guys to kind of figure out what your products are compatible with, what you should be using in some scenarios, and what you shouldn't be using in another scenario. So one of the things that I heard was that I have to do this exactly like the factory did it back in the day. That was like using the same kind of products, that kind of stuff. That thinking is just not logical. The stuff has advanced so much since these were made. And I'm not dogging on the way that they did them, obviously, but I'm just saying there are so many more products available today that are just fine. So whether you're using an older style of like gel coat or a newer type of primer, there's multiple ways to do this, and there are wrong ways for sure. And we're gonna go over how you can kind of like prevent that. And then I'll kind of get into what I'm doing for this specific Corvette. All right, so we're gonna use this product, for example here, okay? So everything that you buy, as far as like paint and body goes, so if you get like a body filler, this is a short strand fiberglass, regardless of whether it's something like this or primer, paint, clear coat, everything is going to have its own separate sheet that normally they're not going to send it with this. You have to actually physically go on the website normally, and there's a downloadable version or like a PDF that you can print off, and it will tell you exactly what you should and should not use this on. Normally on body fillers, they're going to show you more instructions on the label from what I've seen. But again, I will go over everything and show you that normally you can find exactly what is and is not going to work just by going to the website of the manufacturer and downloading what's called a TDS, or a technical data sheet. On this body filler, it straight up on here tells you it is perfect for rust repair or filling holes in metal, wood, and fiberglass. It's easy sanding, rust proof, applies smoothly, sands easy to contour, all that kind of stuff. And it straight up says on here, can be applied to bare steel, galvanized steel, aluminum, fiberglass, SMC, plaster, concrete, masonry, and wood. So obviously with that product, we don't have to worry because the can straight up tells you exactly what you can and can't use it on. All right, so a little different. This is a high build primer. And then it's a two-part primer, so there's a hardener that comes with it. So, and it tells you on here you can mix it 4:1, and really that is it. Like, it just tells you the mixing ratio. It doesn't tell you anything else, but it says for product data sheets and to learn more about the finishes, visit our website. So you would go to their website and then it would tell you literally everything that you would need to know about this, where you can and can't use it. So I'm gonna try to pop it up on the screen right here and show you kind of what it's talking about. So it tells you straight up, properly treated steel, treated aluminum, fiberglass, SMC, OEM finishes, refinished lacquers, enamels, and urethanes, and etching primers. So essentially you can pretty much use this on everything. The one thing to note there is it does say if it's a large metal area, you need to use some kind of self-etching primer. So, but it tells you like what gun tip to use, what pressure to spray it at, like what sandpaper you should use before you spray it. Everything is on here. So as long as you follow this to a T, this is all tested stuff that these manufacturers have gone through to confirm that there's not any kind of reaction or there's not any kind of like problem with the paint actually adhering to the surface. This is all tested, and that's why they come out with these technical data sheets. So that was the first thing that I kept hearing, was that you had to use some kind of specialty product to put this in primer or whatever, and it's not like that. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm sure there'll be some people commenting on this and saying I have no idea what I'm talking about, because there's some people that are just set in their ways and they don't deviate from one product or one way of doing things. And that's normally where the confusion comes in. For example though, one of the probably my favorite primer to shoot on a vehicle. Straight up says on the technical data sheet that it's not approved for fiberglass. It says it's approved for SMC, but not fiberglass. This Vette is fiberglass. So you just need to make sure you know what you're spraying it on and that everything matches up and there's not going to be any kind of interactions between paint and primer and clear coat and base coat and all that stuff, and you're going to be just fine. Take a look at a data sheet though before you buy a product, because it even tells you what product you should clean your vehicle with. And some will obviously try to push their products as the cleaning solution, but normally it'll just tell you, you know, wipe it down with a lacquer thinner or something like that. So as long as you follow that to a T, you're not going to have any issues. I guarantee it. All right, so before we move on with the passenger side, I want to show you some things that we're seeing. And there's been some body filler applied here. That's probably due to like a crack or something. It doesn't look like it's been impacted, maybe just a crack spread. And then up underneath here, there's a good sized little chip in there. So we're gonna have to get that filled in. Underneath the brown paint and the horrible flame that was on here, we're seeing where it looks like it could have been painted a second time. So you've got your Marina blue here, and then it looks like there's some more Marina blue primer and then some more Marina blue and then some brown on top of that. It looks like the factory finish is pretty much all over the whole car. But like spots like this where I'm sanding and you're seeing fiberglass, don't worry about that. People think that if the second you see fiberglass when you're sanding through that you have ruined it. But as long as you take your time, don't mess up your body lines, but take your time, you're gonna be just fine. Another thing you're gonna see when you're sanding through fiberglass are like bonding areas. So this panel was bonded to this little lip up here. It appears all the way along this entire line. And actually, if you run your hand across there, you can barely feel where it's just kind of been smoothed in. And that's perfectly fine. The fact that that's exposed is not a big deal. We're gonna be priming it with the proper primer, and we're never gonna have to worry about it. It does appear that there was some other kind of fiberglass or some filler of some sort used right there. I've got most of it off, but it just feels like maybe there was some kind of crack or imperfection in the paint or something that they wanted to fix. So, but we're gonna keep going and working on the passenger side because we're pretty close to having at least a good idea of what we're gonna be dealing with this whole car. But we've got the hood, the front lip here, and then the whole passenger side. So we're gonna go over there and start on the passenger side and see what that side looks like. Don't worry, this only has like 10 to 15 minutes of life left and this whole thing will be removed. But another thing was how you sand the fiberglass. That was another thing I kept reading or hearing people say, and it doesn't matter. As long as you aren't going crazy and using like, you know, I wouldn't use like a geared sander or something that's like super aggressive. If you use a DA sander, you know, something that's got a little bit of a give to it, you're not going to just rip through the layer of fiberglass. So the differences between sanding this and sanding my all steel truck over there, there's not really any. Like you're just using, I'm using the same DA sander. If you were using a more aggressive stripping tool, then obviously you'd probably want to change your ways a little bit. But the fact that normally I always use a DA sander, I'm going to continue to use a DA sander on this and stop whenever I see the Marina blue. And as long as there's no body filler or anything and everything looks fine, I'm going to continue to just get it down to Marina blue all over this whole side and everything will be just fine. We're using an 80 grit, by the way. So that's another difference, I guess. Again, you don't want to be too aggressive because if you start messing up these body lines, and that's actually easy to do, you want to stay kind of away from the body lines with the air tools and then go through there and sand the body lines with a block or something. So that way you're refining the body line and not messing it up. All right, we're going to begin by doing the world a favor and getting rid of this entire flame. All right guys, so I wanted to show you this because as you're sanding, like I've said in the past, it kind of tells the history of the car. So whenever I was going down through here, I was seeing all kinds of different layers, and it's over here too. So this whole front section has been painted Marina blue. It looks like numerous times. So looks like we see the brown that was on top right here, and you come across here and there's some blue, and then there's like this kind of hazy line. So that is more than likely clear coat. Then you've got like a sealer right here, looks like some Marina blue again, and then the red oxide primer is down here. So very strange. Just wanted to show you that, but as you're sanding through, it shows up immediately. So it might get a little loud because the air compressor will kick on, but I wanted to show you as you sand through here, you can see the layers start popping up. All right, so you can see the blue start to peek through now. Looks like some sealer. Marina blue and some more sealer. Marina blue again. And then finally your primer and your steel. So that's how many times that this has been painted. If I was to estimate just by looking at this, I'd say 3 times that this has been painted. And that's, if you run your hand over this, you can feel a massive dip where this paint is. So there's tools to measure the paint thickness. I don't have one of them, but you can just tell how thick this stuff was. All right guys, so clearly we're not done sanding yet because I have to sand through tons of paint. So I'm not going to bore you the whole video with me stripping the car down, but I want to show you kind of where we're at right now and where we're going to go from there. All right, so here's kind of where we're at. We've got Marina blue exposed pretty much everywhere. We got to do all the fine tuning kind of stuff like up in here. Obviously, it's the same kind of process. You just have to use like a block or something. So again, I use these Durablocks. These things are awesome because they come in a kit, and my kit included a bunch of different sizes, shapes, and everything, so you can kind of get these real fine areas like this. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but it's actually like a curve here. So there's a round one that goes up there, and you can sand that whole section, and you get a perfectly rounded, smooth area every single time you do this. So my philosophy with stripping a car down has always been to take my time, not get too crazy. You know, you don't want to get an angle grinder out or anything crazy like that and then get it down to bare metal. That's not what the point of it is. Because if you use a block sander and you're going through there and you're sanding it and you're getting the body straightened out as you're going, then you don't have to necessarily take off all this Marina blue. The second layer, like right here that I was talking about, we are going to take all that off. But if you see fiberglass, Marina blue, you know that the paint that you're spraying on there, because we're spraying it Marina blue, but the primer and everything is going to stick to the factory finishes, the primer, the fiberglass. So on this fiberglass car, we're not going to go too crazy with it because we know that underneath the paint, you're not going to necessarily find any kind of corrosion at all because it's not like that. Now with metal, it would be a little bit different, obviously, because paint can hide a lot on metal. So of course you would want to sand the whole thing down all the way to the bare metal, and that would be the only way to guarantee that there was no kind of rot or anything or repairs that were made that have been covered up. But I can guarantee you, if you get the whole car down to about this right here, it's going to be perfectly fine. So again, just taking your time, using a block sander. I use a DA really just to get like this area right here. I'll probably go over that again with the DA before I go and do my block sanding, because you can just watch it. You know that this thing is brown and then blue. So as you're sanding and you get to the blue, that's usually when I stop, and then I'll go through here and you can see all my block sanding marks through here. All those straight lines are block sanding marks. So I'm exposing fiberglass there, and it's not that big of a deal because I know that now this whole panel is completely straight. I can go and put my high build primer on top of it after I obviously make some repairs, and I know that this is going to be crazy straight. It's going to look really good when it's painted. Again, there are a few steel things on the car, so like the headlight housing is all steel. And then there are some areas up here, like I showed you as we were sanding down through some of this. Several layers of paint have been put on this thing. So I don't know why, like if it was a paint failure or if somebody just wanted to freshen up the paint or if somebody just got bored or if there was some damage or what it was. But any area like this that we're seeing several layers, I am going to go down until there's exposed fiberglass just to make sure that the fiberglass isn't cracked or anything crazy like that. So that's why you're seeing exposed fiberglass in here. I just want to get all the way down because you can see all the layers right here. Sealer, Marina blue, looks like a darker type of primer or sealer, Marina blue, primer, and then fiberglass. So we're going to get through all of that eventually. It's going to take a while, but we're going to get down through all of that and then make sure that everything's straight and nice before we go put paint on it. Really the goal here is just to ensure that what you're spraying it on, because I don't know what type of paint they have repainted this whole car with. It could be a paint that is not compatible with the paint that I'm going to spray on it. So I know that I want to get down to a factory finish because it says factory finishes will not have any kind of interactions and you can spray directly on top of them. I wouldn't trust that with the paint. I'd always put some kind of sealer or something like that. So that's why we are getting it all the way down to the blue, because you know from the factory that this thing was probably the straightest that it's ever been from the factory. All right, so again guys, lots of work to do still. We have to do the two panels on the front. There is gonna be a full series or a playlist on this, so if you wanna go check out the playlist on YouTube, I'll make sure to link to it up here in the corner. There's only a couple videos right now, but you guys can go check it out. The Vette's gonna progress really fast and it's going to be in paint before you know it. So I wanna just make sure that I document the whole process because I really enjoy doing this stuff and I wanna make sure that it's done right for the customer. And that way he'll never have to get this thing painted again. All right guys, other than that, thank you guys for watching. And if you would, I would really appreciate it if you guys would hit the subscribe button. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers here lately and I just want to continue that trend. I've been utilizing the shorts feature on here too. So if you have the mobile app version of YouTube, then make sure you go check that out because there are some little short videos that I'm going to be putting out there every now and then. All right, other than that, I will catch you guys in the next video.